Welcome to Apocalypse Movies. This is our review of the new Ghostbusters film directed by Paul Feig. I am Jacob Bartley, and I'm joined by Giorgio Ramos. What's going on, man?
How you doing, you guys? Glad to be here.
And I'm sure most of you know that this movie is out. It stars Melissa McCarthy, Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, and Kristen Wiig.
With Chris Hemsworth.
Basically the cast of Bridesmaids. No, Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones aren't in it.
Yeah.
But it also stars Chris Hemsworth and other people as well. But yeah, this movie has had a lot of controversy about it ever since its announcement with the cast, and then with the trailers that got negative feedback. And all of a sudden the reviews start coming out and they're not so bad. But
it's a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not bad at all. And Gio and I finally saw the film yesterday, so we're here to give you our thoughts. So just like all of our reviews, we're going to give our general impressions, our positives, our negatives, and overall score out of 10. So let's start with you, Gio. Just a few sentences on your overall thoughts on the film.
The good news is it's not bad. The bad news is it's not great. I would say this is but in comparison to other blockbusters this summer, you would say this is one of the more funner films, right?
Definitely for me. I had a great time, but I'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah. Let's just start with the elephant in the room. The female Ghostbusters, they're not a problem at all. They all work in one way or another. All four of them look great on screen together with their proton packs. They work really well, and the comedy is very Paul Feig.
Definitely.
So that too works. If you're a fan of Paul Feig, Spy, The Heat, or Bridesmaids, you'll find something to love in this movie. And I'll say that all in all, it's a fun movie. Like I had fun watching this, so I can't deny that. It's check it out.
Yeah, well, I do admit the movie has problems. Every movie has problems. But just overall, I really enjoyed this movie. As it started, I was like, okay, I don't know. But then 30 minutes into the movie, I was hooked. And there wasn't a point at all from that point on where I wanted the movie to be over. I didn't want the film to end. I was enjoying myself so much. And I have no reason at all to lie or benefit from me telling you that I like the movie. So I know I like the movie. I had that exciting feeling when you're watching a movie that has you in awe. I really had a lot of fun watching it, and just overall, I was satisfied with the movie, even though it did have some things that really bothered me. And the things that bothered me really did bother me, but we'll get into that in our negatives. But first, let's talk about exactly what we did like about the film. Gio, you mentioned the cast, the four leads. What else did you like about Ghostbusters?
Definitely the ghosts.
Oh yes, the ghosts look amazing.
They definitely took advantage of the visual effects nowadays. The ghosts, they look really good. The action bits were good.
Definitely.
You know, it made Ghostbusters awesome again to look on screen. And I can only imagine if you're a little girl watching this movie, you're like, whoa, what are these ladies doing? You know, they're taking down ghosts, and that was pretty cool. I like the Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. This is their fourth film together. Third?
Yeah, I lost track.
Fourth film together, so their chemistry is still just as strong. And same goes with the other cast members, Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon. Kate McKinnon gets a little bit sidetracked sometimes, but I mean, all in all, for the most part, they all gel together well. I mentioned the ghost. That was pretty awesome. And for myself, I thought most of the cameos, most of the references for Ghostbusters worked from the original film.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mind them at all.
There were some of them were like a bit too much. But
a lot of people are mentioning that as a negative, but overall, I didn't mind them at all.
Yeah. So that was pretty fun. And that's what I have.
Well, I can't talk about it without talking about the leads, because that's what this movie is relying on, is the four leads and their performance. And I do agree that they had great chemistry among each other, and individually I thought that they were all really good. Kate McKinnon does get over the top a little bit, but for me personally, I enjoyed those moments. And I can already tell, because I've seen her like on Kelly Live and stuff like that on talk shows, and that's how she is in real life. She's very outgoing and doesn't care, and she's very over the top. And knowing that, Paul Feig just told her to be yourself. Just do your thing is what he told her, I guarantee you. And she did. So I don't blame her. If anything, if you're going to count that as a negative, you have to blame Paul Feig for allowing her to do her thing, because she's just being her in this Ghostbusters movie, which I personally enjoyed. And overall, the cast was good. Leslie Jones surprised me, because you thought from the trailer she was going to be the one who was way over the top.
Right. Yeah.
But there's moments in the movie where her character has some cool moments and some serious moments, and you're like, oh wow, feels like a real character. It's not just way over the top.
Right.
And they made them all. They all had something to offer to the team. They weren't just random people coming together to take on the ghosts. They were scientists. The Leslie Jones character, Patty, she knew New York. I feel like her character was necessary for them to do what she had to do. If you paid attention, no spoilers, but she knew all this historical information about New York, and all about the buildings and all this stuff about deaths that happened hundreds of years ago. She knew everything about the surroundings that they were in, so her character was important, and all the other three were scientists. So each character plays an important part, and no one really takes a back seat. And just the action was amazing to me. The end battle scene, while just the overall scope wasn't great of the battle, the actual fighting that was going on with the girls and their weapons and against the ghosts was pretty damn badass to me. There was a moment where Kate McKinnon's character does some really cool stuff, and I was in awe, because it just looked so cool. And also the ghosts looked amazing. Some of them actually looked really scary, and they looked fantastic. You cannot deny the special effects were on point in this movie, and something that I really appreciated. And for the most part, the comedy worked for me. For the most part, there were some really laugh out loud moments for me. The crowd was laughing a lot. I laughed a lot too. So overall, I had a great time. But of course, there's problems with this movie. There's no denying that, and we're not going to deny it either. Gio, what were some of your negatives with Ghostbusters?
Every male character in this movie is a dumbass. You want me to take these 4 female leads seriously? I can do that. Okay, I have no problem with them. What I have a problem with is that you make every other character that's male in this movie so dumb to the point where they can't even comprehend. They can barely comprehend what's going on. They're like,
like they're not real people.
Right.
There's no people out in the real world like that, if so very little few.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's unrealistic the way they portrayed males in this movie, and they did it on purpose at a stab at men, because just to make the women look good.
Something like that.
You can have strong female characters without attacking the men, is basically what I got from that.
Yeah. Like I mean, I understand you wanted to let your steam out this movie, sure, but if you do it in the sequel, I'm not buying it. I'll walk out if I have to. So that also falls into Chris Hemsworth's character.
One particular character,
he's a comic in this one. He can't do anything. But I mean, I guess he's fun to.
His performance,
look at,
his portrayal was funny.
It off.
He was funny. Like, if you just were watching him in like a YouTube clip doing all the things he did, it was funny. But the character was just poorly written and way over the top.
And same goes for the story. It gets a little bit like there's an amount of suspension of disbelief that you have to have for this movie.
Just ghosts,
but it kind of it goes into like a far-fetched in some areas.
In a way, yeah.
I'll say that I thought the villain, the one pulling the strings, behind,
the main villain.
He at times gets a little bit out of control, and I just didn't really like his character. And I thought, well, I mean, for the comedy, like we both said, it works for the most part. There's some parts where it's just like, okay, that was meant to be funny.
Yeah, and they're trying too hard at sometimes.
Yeah, but for the most part, that's pretty much all I have. Yeah. So.
For me, it's definitely a lot of the comedy. It's best when you have a mixture of comedy and seriousness. And while Ghostbusters is being portrayed as a comedy, as it was in the trailers, you can't have too much comedy. Like, when every little moment, like, you couldn't get through a scene without a comedic moment happening. And I get it, it's Paul Feig. This movie it's an action comedy. That's what it is. So I get it, but you didn't have to have comedy in every single moment of the movie, and that's kind of what you get. And I didn't mind it as much, but I would have, in certain moments, just it didn't work. And like you said, they treat every male character like they're idiots, and specifically Chris Hemsworth's character. And I don't care, like I don't get offended. Like I'm not offended by that because I know it's not realistic. But at the same time, I feel like you're fighting sexism with sexism. So you're trying to make these strong female leads, and they are strong female leads. And I bought that these 4 women were doing what they were doing in the movie, and that they were legitimate leads, and they are. But you're kind of going against what you're fighting for when you're treating the opposite sex the same way that you don't want to be treated, if that makes sense. And it's weird because a male is directing this movie, so he's the one doing it. So maybe I'm sexist for that whole argument. I don't know, but that really bothered me, and it was really like too over the top attacking men. And I feel like you said, Gio, they went for it in this movie. They went for it a lot. Don't do it again, because I actually want there to be a sequel to this movie, and you don't have to attack men so much in the sequel. You don't have to. So
if there'll be a sequel,
yeah, the box office isn't doing that well. I hope so. And yeah, the villain wasn't great, and his whole big plan didn't necessarily make sense, nor did it hit like it should have. And he was not like, you want your villain, you want to like something about your villain. Like look at Loki from the Avengers, for example. You kind of like him. There's nothing likable about this villain at all. And we don't even see the villain really in the trailers. So for those of you who haven't seen the movie, you have no idea which character we're talking about, but when you watch it, you will know. Alright, well that's going to do it for our positives and our negatives. Now we're going to give it our score out of 10. Gio, what do you got for Ghostbusters?
I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's one of the more fun blockbusters that you can enjoy this summer. Check it out, and you might have fun with it.
Yeah, you can ask Gio. When I left this movie, I was buzzing about it. I was smiling. I was so happy. I felt happy leaving this movie because I really enjoyed it. I even got chills at one moment during the action scene because I was like, that is so awesome. And I was so happy that it got away from that negative buzz it was getting from the trailers, because this movie is not as bad as the trailers portrayed it. And Paul Feig proved everybody wrong, that he could make this movie work, and he did, in my opinion. But the things that didn't work for me were too large to like give it a super high score. And I tweeted out yesterday that I really liked the movie, and I do. And I gave it an 8 on my tweet, but I'm going to have to bring that down to a 7.5 out of 10. Just talking about it and thinking about it more made me realize there were a few more negatives than I thought there were. But 7.5 is a great score, in my opinion. Like, that means I really enjoyed the movie. Solid film. So that's going to do it for our review of Ghostbusters. I want to thank Gio for joining me today. Let them know where they can find you online.
Well, if you're interested, find me on Twitter at GioRamos24 and apocalypsemovies.com.
And you can find me, Jacob Bartley, on Twitter at JacobBartley_, on this Apocalypse Movies YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, hit that like button, hit us up in the comment section. Let us know what you thought of Ghostbusters, and if you haven't seen it, if you're looking forward to watching it. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, take care.